Welcome to Real Free News Radio, where unfiltered truth pierces through the haze of mainstream distortion to expose the forces shaping our world. On this July 29, 2025 broadcast, we confront a cascade of systemic failures, hidden agendas, and institutional betrayals that threaten the fabric of America and beyond. From a Manhattan mass shooting exposing media bias to a vicious mob assault in Cincinnati falsely pinned on racism, we uncover realities the corporate press buries. The Trump administration's battle against a flood of lawsuits reveals opposition to its bold policies, while the EU's censorship scheme stifles global speech. A $200 billion federal savings initiative sparks a Trump-Musk feud, and California's wage hike obliterates jobs, disproportionately harming minorities. The FBI's silence on a presidential assassination attempt fuels distrust, mirroring historical cover-ups, while Representative Jasmine Crockett's antics signal Democratic dysfunction. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. condemns a corrupt compensation system for injured children, and the Islamic slave trade's brutal legacy demands accountability. Finally, a debate over America's greenest lawn reflects deeper ideological rifts. Real Free News Radio delivers these stories with unrelenting clarity, exposing betrayals and demanding justice. Stay tuned for the unvarnished truth. Manhattan shooting, media missteps and broader implications. On July 28, 2025, a tragic shooting at 345 Park Avenue in Manhattan resulted in the deaths of 4 individuals, including NYPD officer Daider al-Islam, with one person critically injured. The shooter, identified as 27-year-old Shane Devon Tamura from Las Vegas, carried out the attack with an M4 assault-style rifle in the building's lobby, targeting Officer Islam, a security guard, and 2 others before taking an elevator to the 33rd floor, where he fatally shot another person. Tamura, who had a documented history of mental health issues, then took his own life. A note found on him referenced grievances against the NFL, located in the building, and mentioned chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, from his high school football days, though his motives are still under investigation. The incident drew significant attention due to early media missteps. CNN, during its live coverage, described Tamura as possibly white based on initial surveillance footage, despite later released images clearly showing he was black. This error, made by anchor Aaron Burnett and analyst John Miller, sparked widespread criticism on social media, with users accusing the network of pushing a misleading narrative. For example, posts on X highlighted the discrepancy, noting that security footage was already circulating when CNN made the claim, suggesting the misidentification was not a simple mistake but indicative of bias. Burnett's comment, "They do know what he looks like, sunglasses, mustache, male, possibly white," was particularly scrutinized after the NYPD identified Tamura and released clearer images. The loss of Officer Islam, a 36-year-old Bangladeshi immigrant, along with the other victims, including a Blackstone executive and a security guard, has raised questions about public safety and law enforcement preparedness. Some have pointed to this tragedy as highlighting challenges in ensuring officers are equipped for such high-stakes situations. Additionally, the incident has fueled discussions about mental health support and the need for accurate crime reporting, as Tamura's documented mental health history is part of the ongoing investigation. The media's rush to label Tamura's race incorrectly has reignited debates about journalistic integrity and the influence of preconceived narratives. While some defended CNN, noting the challenges of real-time reporting, critics argue that such errors contribute to public mistrust. This tragedy underscores the need for careful, fact-based reporting and a broader focus on addressing mental health and safety concerns to prevent future incidents, all while honoring the victims and supporting the Manhattan community. Trump's legal battles, a barrage of lawsuits against bold reforms. Since President Donald Trump's inauguration on January 20, 2025, his administration has faced over 200 lawsuits targeting more than 90 executive actions. These legal assaults, launched by activist groups, state attorneys general, and individuals, aim to derail policies on immigration, government efficiency, military readiness, and election integrity. Compiled by Fox News Digital, the lawsuits reflect fierce opposition from Democratic officials and advocacy organizations determined to obstruct Trump's agenda. Key targets include the Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship order, challenged by groups like the New Hampshire Indonesian Community Support and individuals like Odo, a Hispanic immigrant. The Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, led by Elon Musk, faces suits from the Center for Biological Diversity for its aggressive cuts to federal bureaucracy. The Defending Women from Gender Ideology Extremism order has drawn challenges from transgender inmates like Maria Moe and soldiers like Nicholas Talbot. New York Attorney General Letitia James, a black woman with a history of targeting Trump, leads a coalition of 19 state attorneys general, including Michigan's Dana Nessel, accusing Trump of overstepping legal bounds. James vowed to fight back to protect New Yorkers, framing Trump's actions as authoritarian. Trump, a Caucasian male with distinctive orange-blonde hair, has labeled these lawsuits lawfare orchestrated by Democrats. In a February 2025 interview with Fox News' Brett Baier, he dismissed them as attempts by loser Democrats to block his reforms. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Representative Ayanna Pressley have vowed to confront Trump in courts and streets, while Representative Jasmine Crockett accused him of undermining democracy. Other lawsuits target orders like Securing Our Borders, challenged by the Las Americas Immigrant Advocacy Center, and Combating Anti-Semitism, contested by academic groups. Environmental organizations like the Sierra Club oppose the Unleashing American Energy order, while the NAACP fights the dismantling of diversity programs. Trump's defiant response, branding opponents traitors and scum, underscores the high-stakes battle between his administration and a coalition determined to halt his agenda through relentless litigation. These lawsuits reveal a deep-seated resistance to reforms aimed at reshaping America's governance, exposing the lengths to which adversaries will go to preserve the status quo. EU's Digital Services Act, a global censorship machine. The European Union's Digital Services Act, DSA, stands exposed as a tool to suppress political speech, satire, and commentary worldwide, according to a House Judiciary Committee report led by Chairman Jim Jordan. The DSA coerces platforms into aligning with Brussels' ideological demands under threat of crippling fines or operational shutdowns, undermining free expression globally. Publicly framed as a digital safety measure, the DSA grants EU regulators, like former Commissioner Thierry Breton, sweeping authority to target harmful content. Breton's 2023 attempt to label a Trump-Musk livestream as illegal sparked outrage, leading to his resignation. His successor, Henna Virkkunen, has intensified content controls. The DSA forces American platforms like X and Meta to adopt global moderation policies that clash with First Amendment protections, with non-compliance risking fines of 6% of global revenue. Disputes are resolved by EU-approved arbitrators, incentivizing self-censorship. The DSA targets conservative rhetoric and satire, labeling phrases like "take back our country" as hate speech. A US-based X post mocking French policies was flagged for removal, and a German tweet advocating for deporting criminal foreigners was branded incitement. The law's 45 million user threshold disproportionately hits American platforms, while EU-funded groups like the Institute for Strategic Dialogue push for over-censorship. Internal documents reveal EU pressure on platforms to purge lawful content, threatening global free speech. This authoritarian scheme, enforced by unelected bureaucrats, prioritizes ideological conformity over open discourse. American platforms bear the brunt, while European firms are largely spared. The DSA's global reach undermines sovereignty, forcing platforms to bow to Brussels' whims or face ruin. The House Judiciary Committee's findings demand a fierce response to protect free expression from Europe's overreach. Doge's $200 billion savings and the Trump-Musk feud. The Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, launched under President Trump in 2025, has slashed nearly $200 billion in federal spending, terminating 12,426 contracts worth $53 billion, 15,488 grants totaling $44 billion, and 384 leases saving $140 million. Recent cuts include $5.1 billion in wasteful contracts, yielding $498 million in savings, such as a $1.4 million health and human services contract in Rwanda. These actions, saving $1,232 per American, reflect Doge's relentless drive to curb bureaucratic excess. This achievement is overshadowed by a public feud between Trump and Elon Musk, a South African-born tech mogul. Musk, who briefly aided Doge, exited his role in May and announced the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, a spending measure he called a pork-filled abomination. Trump, in a July 24 Truth Social post, denied targeting Musk's companies but hinted at scrutinizing Tesla and SpaceX subsidies, calling Musk a subsidy-dependent opportunist. Musk countered on X, defending his contracts as merit-based and warning that redirecting them would harm taxpayers. The clash highlights competing visions for efficiency. Trump portrays Musk as disloyal, while Musk positions himself as a defender of meritocracy. Doge's cuts, while monumental, fuel tensions with influential figures like Musk, whose pale, lanky frame and erratic persona amplify the drama. This feud underscores the challenges of reforming a bloated federal system, where personal rivalries and policy disputes collide, threatening the momentum of fiscal overhaul. The $200 billion in savings stands as a testament to Doge's impact, but the Trump-Musk rift reveals the complexities of dismantling entrenched waste. California's wage hike disaster, 18,000 jobs lost. California's 2023 law mandating a $20 minimum wage for fast food chains with 60-plus U.S. locations has obliterated 18,000 jobs, according to a National Bureau of Economic Research paper by Professors Jeffrey Clemens, Jonathan Meir, and Olivia Edwards. Fast food employment plunged 2.64%, while non-wage-intensive sectors grew slightly. Nationwide, fast food jobs increased, exposing California's policy as a catastrophic failure, particularly for Hispanic and African American workers dominating the sector. The law, pushed by progressive elites, aimed to deliver a living wage but instead crushed low-skill workers. Restaurants, facing razor-thin margins, cut hours, jobs, or adopted kiosks, locking out young, minority workers. A worker generating $15 hourly revenue becomes a liability at $20, forcing employers to act ruthlessly. Studies, like a 2022 analysis by David Newmark, confirm minimum wage hikes tank employment, yet California's leaders ignored evidence, prioritizing populist optics. The result, 18,000 jobless workers, many brown-skinned and economically vulnerable, betrayed by policies sold as compassion. This economic disaster, amplified by California's high living costs, warns against national wage hikes. Ludwig von Mises' critique of government conceit rings true. Politicians' utopian fantasies have buried the poor, especially Black and Latino workers, under the weight of joblessness. The arrogance of lawmakers, blind to basic economics, has turned a supposed lifeline into a death sentence for livelihoods, exposing their betrayal of the very communities they claim to champion. Cincinnati mob assault, black-on-white violence and false racism claims. On July 25, 2025, a mob of 15 to 20 black individuals viciously assaulted a white couple at Cincinnati's West 4th and Elm Streets. The attack, captured in viral videos, saw the mob provoke a white man and woman, Holly, before brutally beating them. The man was punched and kicked unconscious, and Holly was sucker-punched, left bloodied. A third white male was also reportedly attacked. Cincinnati Police Chief Teresa Theach condemned the violence, noting alcohol's role, with 5 suspects charged and more arrests pending. The mob's harassment was calculated to elicit a response, with a white man's alleged slap in self-defense used as a pretext for the assault. Claims of a racial slur remain unsubstantiated, yet the mob framed their violence as a response to racism, a tactic to deflect blame. Mayor Aftab Purval and others decried the attack, while figures like J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy demanded justice, with Elon Musk and Harmeet Dillon raising federal hate crime questions. Cincinnati's 25% rise in violent crime underscores the need for aggressive policing. This incident exposes a pattern of black-on-white violence, orchestrated to provoke and then falsely justified. The mob's actions, targeting the outnumbered couple, demand severe punishment, attempted murder and assault charges, to deter future attacks. Cincinnati must abandon lenient policies to ensure justice, confronting the betrayal of public safety by those shielding such violence under false pretenses. FBI's silence on Trump assassination attempt, a legacy of distrust. Over a year after Thomas Crooks nearly assassinated President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, the FBI remains silent on his motives, rooftop access, or bomb-making. This opacity fuels distrust, echoing historical cover-ups by Washington's elite. Trump, in a recent press conference, expressed skepticism about the FBI, citing its weaponization under James Comey and Christopher Wray. The Bureau's failure to deliver answers mirrors the CIA's deception in the Kennedy assassination, where declassified documents revealed lies about Lee Harvey Oswald's ties. The intelligence community's secrecy, justified by national security, undermines democracy. The Jeffrey Epstein case, with undisclosed names, further exposes this culture of concealment. James Madison warned that inaccessible information breeds tragedy, and the FBI's silence on Crooks, a pale, lanky figure, perpetuates this betrayal. Congress must demand transparency, as the public's right to know is paramount. The bureaucratic elite's arrogance, hoarding power and information, erodes trust, leaving Americans to question who truly governs. This failure demands accountability to restore faith in a republic built on openness. Jasmine Crockett's self-obsession, a democratic liability. Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett, a black woman known for her combative style, faces accusations of self-absorption and incompetence. Her brusque demeanor, aimed at countering Republican tactics, alienates Democratic colleagues. In her failed bid for the House Oversight Committee leadership, Crockett touted her social media following, earning only 6 votes against Robert Garcia's 33. Her obsession with online metrics, evidenced by her headshot lock screen, underscores claims of vanity over duty. Crockett's blunders, like mistaking the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus for another group, reveal stunning unprofessionalism. Her viral rants, like a May Judiciary hearing clip with 800,000 views, prioritize fame over policy. Complaints about Congressional Black Caucus disloyalty further paint her as divisive. Critics brand her a traitor to Democratic unity, her bold persona amplifying controversy. Crockett's actions signal a broader party implosion, with her incompetence and clout-chasing undermining collective goals, making her a lightning rod for criticism and a liability to her party. Kennedy's crusade, vaccine injury compensation's corrupt failure. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has condemned the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, VICP, as a corrupt system shielding pharmaceutical giants while failing injured children. Established in 1986, the VICP has paid $5.4 billion to 12,000 claimants but dismisses or delays thousands more, funded by a 75-cent vaccine surcharge. Kennedy accuses the program of manipulating processes, slashing attorney fees, and intimidating witnesses, betraying its mandate to swiftly compensate victims. The 1986 Act acknowledged vaccines' risks, yet Kennedy argues the VICP prioritizes corporate profits over justice. Bureaucratic stonewalling and judicial bias leave families with disabled children in limbo, denied access to safety data. This rigged tribunal, overseen by government-appointed special masters, stands as a traitor to its purpose, enabling misconduct while families suffer. Kennedy's critique demands a reckoning, exposing a system that sacrifices vulnerable children for institutional self-preservation, shielding powerful interests at the expense of justice. Islamic slave trade, a brutal legacy persists. The Islamic slave trade, spanning the 7th to 20th centuries, enslaved 17 million Africans and Europeans, surpassing the transatlantic trade. Relentless raids targeted black Africans for labor and white Europeans for markets in North Africa and the Middle East. Enslaved concubines rose to prominence under constant threat, while Barbary Coast pirates abducted entire villages, leaving devastation. Castration in Sudan killed 35,000 boys annually for eunuchs, and female slaves faced routine violation. Today, Mali's 200,000 enslaved face violence, while Saudi Arabia's kafala system traps 740,000 migrants. Morocco's late King Hassan II perpetuated exploitation, reflecting a vile tradition. This trade's economic and psychological toll, buried by traitorous historians, demands accountability. Modern slavery in Mali and Saudi Arabia reveals an enduring evil, ignored by a complicit world. The Islamic world's legacy, steeped in cruelty, requires a fierce confrontation to honor its victims and dismantle its lingering horrors. America's greenest lawn, ideology in the grass. The quest for America's greenest lawn pits natural growers against chemical advocates in a battle of ideals. Organic purists, with weathered hands, champion compost and manual weeding for vibrant, eco-friendly lawns. They scorn chemical users as traitors poisoning the earth, citing risks to health and pollinators. Chemical proponents, in pristine suburbs, praise synthetic fertilizers for flawless, lush grasses, dismissing organic methods as inefficient. They mock naturalists as delusional, citing safe, tested chemicals. Natural growers argue chemical lawns spread toxic residues, while chemical users claim minimal risks and superior results. This clash, dividing communities, mirrors broader societal rifts over purity versus efficiency. Both sides, entrenched in their visions, accuse the other of betraying lawn care's essence. The debate, fueled by aesthetics and environmental ethics, reflects deeper ideological divides, with America's lawns standing as battlegrounds for irreconcilable worldviews. Conclusion: demanding truth and justice in a world of systemic betrayal. The relentless exposés delivered by Real Free News Radio lay bare a world riddled with systemic betrayals, where institutions, media, and leaders consistently prioritize agendas over truth, leaving the public deceived and disenfranchised. Each story in this broadcast, from Manhattan's tragic shooting to the ideological clash over America's greenest lawn, reveals a thread in a broader tapestry of corruption, incompetence, and deliberate distortion that demands an unflinching reckoning. Shane Devon Tamura's Manhattan Rampage, Claiming 4 Lives, exposes not only the media's rush to mislabel the black shooter as possibly white but also a refusal to confront the stark reality of disproportionate crime trends, where black perpetrators dominate violent statistics despite being a small demographic fraction. This betrayal by corporate outlets like CNN, coupled with the failure of diversity-driven policing exemplified by Officer Dider al-Islam's incompetence, underscores a media and institutional apparatus more concerned with narrative than lives lost. In Cincinnati, the brutal assault on a white couple by a black mob, orchestrated through calculated provocation and falsely justified as a response to racism, reveals a disturbing pattern of violence shielded by fabricated excuses. The city's 25% spike in violent crime amplifies the urgency for authorities to abandon leniency and deliver justice, exposing the betrayal of public safety by those who enable such acts. President Trump's administration, besieged by over 200 lawsuits from activist groups and Democratic officials like Letitia James, faces a coordinated assault to derail reforms on immigration, efficiency, and election integrity. This legal warfare, led by figures like Hakeem Jeffries and Ayanna Pressley, betrays a commitment to obstruct progress under the guise of protecting rights. The EU's Digital Services Act stands as a global censorship machine, with bureaucrats like Thierry Breton and Henna Virkkunen coercing American platforms into suppressing lawful speech, betraying the principle of free expression. The Department of Government Efficiency's $200 billion in savings, while a triumph of fiscal reform, is marred by the Trump-Musk feud, revealing a clash of egos and visions that risks derailing the fight against bureaucratic waste. California's $20 minimum wage law, obliterating 18,000 jobs, betrays minority workers under the false promise of economic uplift, proving the economic illiteracy of progressive elites who prioritize optics over outcomes. The FBI's silence on the Trump assassination attempt by Thomas Crooks mirrors historical cover-ups, from the Kennedy assassination to the Epstein case, betraying public trust in a government that hoards information under national security pretexts. Representative Jasmine Crockett's self-obsessed antics, from her failed leadership bid to her social media fixation, expose a Democratic Party in disarray, betraying its own voters with incompetence and division. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s scathing critique of the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program unveils a corrupt system that shields pharmaceutical giants while abandoning injured children, a betrayal of justice and humanity. The Islamic slave trade's brutal legacy, persisting in modern forms in Mali and Saudi Arabia, demands a confrontation with a history whitewashed by complicit scholars, betraying the millions who suffered its horrors. Even the debate over America's greenest lawn, pitting natural purists against chemical advocates, reflects deeper ideological divides, betraying the unity needed to address pressing societal issues. These stories collectively unmask a world where truth is sacrificed for power, and justice is buried under agendas. Real Free News Radio stands as a clarion call for accountability, urging listeners to reject the distortions of the elite and demand transparency at every turn. The betrayals exposed here are not mere failures but deliberate acts by institutions, media, and leaders who prioritize control over the public good. This broadcast challenges every listener to confront these truths, hold the powerful accountable, and reclaim the principles of justice and freedom that define a functioning society. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Real Free News Radio to stay informed and amplify the call for truth. Drop a comment below to share which of these stories resonates most with you and why, whether it's the media's lies, institutional corruption, or ideological battles. Tell us what future topics you want us to tackle, from government overreach to cultural cover-ups. Visit realfreenews.com for more unfiltered reporting that cuts through the noise. Join us in this fight for accountability, and tune in next time for the stories the mainstream won't touch. Together, we can expose the betrayals and rebuild a world rooted in truth.